What if I told you that the cure for some of today's worst diseases might already exist? That it's sitting on a pharmacy shelf right now, just mislabeled? It's a wild thought, right? Well, finding these hidden cures is one of the biggest puzzles in medicine. And today, we're talking about a new kind of detective that's on the case. Let's get into it.
Okay, take a look at this number, 90%. This right here is the number that gives drug researchers nightmares. It's absolutely huge, and it points to a massive, massive problem we have in medicine.
Yep, that's the failure rate for new drugs. Just think about that for a second. For every 10 new medicines that look promising enough to even start human trials, a whopping 9 of them will fail. They'll either be unsafe or they just don't work. So what about that one single drug that actually makes it through?
Well, that one success costs over $2 billion. With a B. That's the mind-blowing price tag to get just one new drug from the lab to your local pharmacy.
So let's put it all together. The way we've been doing it, it's slow, it's crazy expensive, and it almost always fails. I mean, it's basically a massive gamble with terrible odds. And the real cost? Well, that's paid by the thousands, maybe millions, of people with diseases that don't have effective treatments. They're just left waiting. But what if there was a better way? A kind of shortcut?
And what if you could just skip the most expensive and riskiest parts of that whole process? That's where this really clever idea comes into play.
It's a strategy called drug repurposing. And the concept is actually pretty simple, but it's genius. You take drugs that we already know are safe for humans. You know, they've been tested, they're approved, and you try to find new jobs for them. See, if a drug's already cleared for safety, you've just leaped over the biggest, most expensive hurdle in the entire process. We're talking about saving years of time and, yes, billions of dollars.
And this isn't some new, untested idea. It has a track record of honestly, some pretty shocking success stories. Get this, mustard gas, a literal chemical weapon, was turned into one of the very first treatments for leukemia. The sedative thalidomide, which has a really dark history, found a new purpose treating leprosy and multiple myeloma. Even arsenic trioxide, a poison, was repurposed as another powerful weapon against leukemia. It's incredible stuff.
So you're probably thinking, okay, if this is so great, why don't we do this for everything? And that's a fair question. The answer is just the sheer, overwhelming scale of the problem. We're talking about a mountain of biomedical knowledge, millions of research papers, endless genetic databases, clinical trial data. The clues are in there, but they're buried. There is no way any single person or even a giant team of people could ever hope to read it all, let alone connect all the dots.
So, if you have a problem that's too big for a human brain, what do? You build a superhuman brain. And this, of course, is where AI comes into the story. So let me introduce you to the AI bioscientist. And you should really think of it less like a piece of software and more like a brand new kind of scientist. An AI agent that can read everything, connect every single dot, and it works 24/7. Its whole job is to find those hidden connections that we humans, with our limited bandwidth, just can't see.
So how does an AI like this actually think? Well, its brain is something called a knowledge graph. The best way to picture it is like a giant digital library of, well, everything we know about biology. Every single fact, every drug, every gene, every disease is like a book on a shelf. And then there are these invisible strings connecting any two books that are related in some way.
And when I say this library is giant, I mean it. The specific knowledge graph this agent uses has over 6.3 million facts. Those are the nodes. And get this, 41 million connections between them. For a person, trying to make sense of that would be impossible. You'd be lost forever. But for an AI, this is its playground.
Okay, so it has this massive brain full of information. How does it actually use it to find a hidden cure? Let's walk through its process, step by step.
Basically, the agent works like a super efficient 3-part research team. Step 1 is the matchmaker. This part scans that entire web of knowledge and predicts surprising new links between old drugs and diseases. Then, once it has a potential match, it hands it off to the detective. This module's job is to figure out the how and the why. It uncovers the most likely biological pathway that explains the connection. And finally, you have the analyst team. This part acts like a tireless grad student. It reads all the scientific literature on that pathway and then writes up a detailed report complete with all the sources for its human scientist colleagues to review. It's the whole package.
All right, that all sounds amazing on paper, right? But the big question is, does it actually work? And more importantly, does it work better than what we already have? Let's check out the results.
So, when researchers put it to the test against other models, the BioScientist Agent came out on top across the board. But I want you to focus on that bottom row, the hit at 1. That's a really important one. It basically measures how often the AI's number 1 top-of-the-list suggestion was the correct one.
And what this shows is just, wow, the BioScientist Agent was over 50% more likely to get the right answer in that number 1 spot compared to the next best thing. Now think about what that means for a human scientist. It means they're spending way less time chasing down dead ends and can focus on the most promising leads. That's a huge deal.
But remember, finding a match is just step 1. You also need to know why it might work. So they also tested the agent on its ability to find the correct biological reason behind a connection, and you can see the difference pretty clearly here. The old model, it scored about a 0.64. Not bad. But the BioScientist Agent, it scored a 0.856. That is a massive leap forward. It shows the AI doesn't just guess. It actually seems to understand the underlying biology.
And this is what that actually looks like. This is a real piece of text generated by the agent. It's not just spitting out names. It's giving a clear scientific hypothesis. It's saying, hey, here's how we think this prostate cancer drug works. It probably binds to the androgen receptor, and that's the key. See what it does? It takes this gigantic, fuzzy search for an answer and turns it into a very specific, testable mission for the scientists in the lab.
So, when you put all this together, what's the big picture? What does this mean for the future of medicine?
Look, this isn't just another cool research tool. This could be a fundamental shift in how we find cures. We're talking about a tireless, super intelligent research partner that can methodically sift through all of human knowledge to find answers that are literally hiding in plain sight. It helps turn that high-stakes, ridiculously expensive gamble of drug discovery into something that feels, well, a lot more like a science.
And that really leaves us with one final exciting question to think about. Now that we have this AI detective on the case, one that can read everything and connect any dot, just how many forgotten drugs sitting on shelves right now are actually the cures for diseases we still can't treat? How many answers have been right under our noses this whole time?